unconditional love has no condition. But that's where I have to say, do you love that person unconditionally? And I love my husband unconditionally.
Welcome to episode 3 of More Than an Inmate's Girlfriend. Thank you once again for joining us and listening to this episode. I am very excited today to have a guest with me who has really inspired me, and I admire this woman so very much. Before we get into that, I just want to say again, thank you. The feedback has been amazing. We're only on episode 3. We've got hundreds of listens so far. It's crazy. I'm so overwhelmed with appreciation that people are listening in and they're curious. So thank you. Please continue to like, share, and subscribe. The more people that get to hear this, the more reach we can have, the more we can share our stories and hopefully affect change in the future. So by listening, you are helping to do that, and I so appreciate that. So this episode, I was very excited about it because it's going to be the first time that we were going to interview an actual prison wife. So when we were thinking about who we would be interviewing, I have built quite a few connections over the past few months, but there was one person that really stuck out to me that I really wanted to interview. And I talked to Nick about it. He was like, you have to interview a prison wife. That has to be the next episode. And I'm like, yeah, I agree. Like, I can't wait to get into it, like really get into the core of what this podcast is about. But it's important. The first one is really important. And I talked to him about this woman. I've been following her for quite some time, and I see what she does. When I'm talking about the level of resilience, the thinking outside the box in terms of helping their loved one, the sheer will that this woman has to try and help her husband, to portray her love for her husband, it's so incredibly beautiful. I remember talking to Nick about it, and I was like, I would love to have this woman on. I don't know if she'd want to do it, but I would love to hear her story. I don't know the whole story. I just see her online, and Nick was like, it's not going to hurt to ask. So I asked her, and she has graciously accepted, and she's here today. I had asked her if she wanted to be anonymous or not. When we started this show, Nick had chose my name. So Jae, he had chosen that. So I'd mentioned to her that, Nick chose mine. Maybe your husband would like to choose yours. So she did do that. Hopefully we'll get into what it means, but he did name her. So I would like to welcome you today. Miss Vayda is here to talk about her love story and her relationship with her husband. So welcome, Vayda.
Hey, Jay.
Thanks again for coming on.
Most definitely. And I will get into, my husband picked out my name, Vayda. Whenever he first picked it out, I was like, really? What is that? And he said, Vayda, like the fish beta, but Vayda. I said, why do you pick that? And he said, well, just like the fish Vayda is very beautiful, but the fish is also very protective of their loved one. He said, just like you are to me.
I love it. I think it's so cute and so sweet, and it's a beautiful name too. So good call, Mr. Husband. Good call. So let's get right into it. I've heard a little bit about your story. I've seen you online displaying different things, but I want to hear about what happened. Tell me about your love story. What happened? How did it start? And how did you fall in love?
Well, the way that you say you see it, just like I said many times before, I don't get online to people look at me. It's totally fighting for my husband, because in the beginning, we were nothing. It didn't start off as a romantic relationship. I mean, to me, our love story is beautiful. Mm-hmm. At first, it was absolutely nothing more than reaching out to him because I had learned of his case and the unfair justice. I didn't even take his word. I didn't take others' word. I began to do research and gather information regarding his case. The more I learned, the more I realized that he had been over-sentenced and wrongfully convicted of murder. So as I had talked to him, I told him I wanted to help him any way that I could. I began to give him phone numbers to high-profile attorneys, and I told him to contact them, write them, whatever he must do to get them to hear him out. Then due to some unusual circumstances, which I'm not going to go into at the time, I lost contact for some months with him. And then I had come across a mutual friend and learned that he had been transferred to a different facility. I had no way of contacting him, so I reached out to his family. I looked online, found out where he was at, and I began to write him. So through his family and the writing, we became friends. And our bond then really started to grow and form.
That's so beautiful. I love hearing that, how you were writing. What was it like when you lost that contact, were you guys in a relationship already, or no, you were just friends still?
No, we were nothing but acquaintances. There was nothing. There wasn't even really what I call a friendship at that time. Mm-hmm. We were nothing but acquaintances.
And then, but you just always had him in the back of your mind.
His case, because he's a lifer. Yeah. And at that time, he had been in a little bit over 20 years. And I learned of his case. And like I said, I didn't take his word. I didn't take other people's word. I'd done the research. I found out everything I needed to know about that case and what happened in that time.
Yeah. We're not going to go into detail about his case, but I do know the case. I have read it myself as well. It is devastating what happened to him. And he's very, very lucky to have someone like you. And I could see how that would sit with someone if they learned the details of that and the circumstances around it. What was it that made you fall in love with him? So you're saying that you were writing and then you were friends and then it just naturally developed into more, or what?
Oh, what made me fall in love with him? His positivity. You would not think a person that's serving a life sentence, you wouldn't see them as being a positive person in most regards. Mm-hmm. No matter what he's been through and the amount of unfair justice that he's had to endure, he has the most positive attitude and outlook on life. He finds the positivity in every circumstance. To me, that shows the person within. Mm-hmm.
It's so fun to hear about him from this side now because I just see you online and I don't really know him at all, right? So it's nice to hear the other side and the reasons why you fell in love with him and what's he really like, because I actually don't know. Even though I know a little bit more about you from seeing you online, I really don't know a lot about him. So it's nice to hear that he was positive. I wouldn't have thought that. So you were friends, you were writing back and forth, and then that kind of positivity, you started falling for him, and then you guys kind of got together, I guess, is what happened?
Yeah, I became from acquaintances into friends, and then we just became the best of friends, and that's where it all started.
Mm-hmm. And is he like other men you've dated? I know for me, Nick is completely different than anyone I've ever dated in a positive way, but he was also someone that I never thought I would find. I never thought that this person existed. So when I did find him, it was like shocking. And I just knew that he was the person. Would you say that your husband is different than men you've dated in the past or similar? What was it like? What was your experience like compared to your previous relationships?
I think we, as human beings that's never been incarcerated, I think we take for granted people a lot of times, and we don't accept people for who they are. Unfortunately, that's just the way humans are. But my husband, he's been incarcerated over 20 years. Mm-hmm. I've never had someone that accepted me for me. He loves me for me. He doesn't want to change me. He doesn't want me to be someone I'm not. He sees me. He sees my flaws. Let's face it, they're in there, we're out here. They can see everything. They can see the positive. They can see the bad. They see it all. Mm-hmm. And he sees my flaws and he loves me anyway. And I've never had that before.
Yeah, I agree. It's similar to me. Like, I feel like comfortable talking to him about anything and everything. I just find there's such a level of depth when you're so separated and the physical is removed and you're really relying on fulfilling your relationship with phone calls and video visits, right? It's like way different than anything that I've ever experienced. And I find there's such a level of depth, and I know him better than I've ever known anybody in my life just by the volume of phone calls. And, you know, like, it's just there, that's all we have to rely on.
Exactly. Because out here in the free world, the physical touch, I think it complicates and it prevents us from really getting to know a person. Whereas with them incarcerated, you really get to know that person because all you have is that communication to fall back on.
Exactly. It either works or it doesn't right away, because you do have to rely on that trust and that communication piece. You either are ironing out the details very early, or it's not going to work because all you have is communication. Like you said, there's no physical to kind of shadow the rest, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So Nick is a lifer, and you're saying that your husband is also a lifer. And I know for me, Nick and I were friends as well for a long time before we got into a relationship. And I know that when it started, there was actually this woman that was on a TV show. She was being interviewed on a podcast, and she talked about how if you're going to be with someone who has a lengthy sentence, like, don't commit unless you're going to commit commit. Do not play around. Do not joke, right? And I remember her saying that right around the time when me and Nick were getting together. And it really stuck with me because it was like, okay, I don't want to play with his heart either. I'm still learning this whole process. Like, I don't know what it's like. Nick had been in prison for 14 years, so he's also been there a long time. Was that something that, because your husband was a lifer, was that something that you consciously were aware of, or did it impact your decisions in any way, knowing that he could die in prison?
Oh, most definitely. As I said before, our friendship began to grow and mature, and we first became the best of friends. And when our feelings started to develop into more of a romantic feeling, he and I talked about it. I told him that being his best friend, I knew without a doubt I could do for an eternity. But just like you said, if someone had told you, don't commit unless you can commit. So I told him, I said, I need some time to do some soul searching because I need to make sure that I can commit more. And he agreed to give me the time, whatever I needed. I told him, I said, well, just give me a few days. It was actually on a Friday. And I told him, I said, I'll talk to you Monday. So we didn't talk the whole weekend at all. And I did just what I do. I took that weekend, I didn't talk to nobody, not my kids, not family, not nobody. I took time for me to think about it. Because by this time that, I had to make this decision, I knew everything about him. I knew the ones that had hurt him in the past. I knew about the people, whatever, personal relationships, professional relationships, and others that had said they were going to be there for him and for one reason or another had left or let him down. Mm-hmm. And I didn't want to be one to add to that list. I didn't want to be just a memory. I also didn't want to ruin the friendship that we had built and destroy that bond. So I took the time just to ask myself, could I do it? If it was 1 year, 10 years, 100 years, could I stay? Could I commit and be faithful to him, no matter what challenges or circumstances that we had to face or overcome? And so I asked myself, the question, no matter what he did, could I commit? No matter what he didn't do, could I commit while he's incarcerated? Could I love him unconditionally? Which the meaning of unconditionally I want to get back to a little bit later.
Mm-hmm. So you had that weekend and then you came back on the Monday?
On that Monday, I came back and I told him, I said, I'm in. And he said, in? And I said, yes, I'm in. I am in.
Aw, that's so sweet. We didn't really have that conversation. Like in my mind, I remember thinking about it, but we didn't really take that time apart. It's such a good idea for those people who are considering it. And it really makes sense to take a step back and reevaluate before committing yourself to something. Because like you said, it's a long time.
And I mean, that commitment that most people can't do.
Yeah.
I mean, let's face it, most people can't. It turned into being, like I said, the 1 year, 10 years, 100 years, just say it's a life sentence without the possibility of ever getting out. Can you do that?
Yeah.
Because, there's no sense in getting into something that you can't do.
Exactly. And I think it's really important too, for me, it's been really staying present in the moment. This is my relationship. A lot of people talk about when he gets out and you see it online, like, oh, when my husband gets out or when my boyfriend gets out, we're going to do this. And I don't have that because I don't know. He might never. So I really had to think, okay, am I happy? Am I fulfilled in the current relationship that I have? Is that what I want? And could I do this for the rest of my life? Because I want to talk about the here and now. I can't plan for the future because we don't really know. He might think that one day maybe the laws will change, and I hope so, for sure. And learning from you, I will be in the future on fighting for his case, but you never know, and you have to really live in the moment and enjoy the relationship for what it is right now.
Exactly. I mean, because, with a lifer, you don't know. Mm-hmm. And yes, you live for the here and now. And my husband has a saying, prepare for the worst, but hope for the best.
Yeah.
And that's just what we have to do.
Yeah. So what would you say has been the most challenging part of your relationship?
The most challenging? Most people would say the physical touch. Mm-hmm. But honestly, for me, it's not the physical touch. I feel as though I can go the rest of my life without the physical touch as long as communication there.
Yeah.
But let's face it, we have to live in the here and now for the communication too, because due to the little contact or the lack of ways to communicate, us women, we always want to hear the mushy stuff. Mm-hmm. We want that kind of little stuff. But, I mean, due to that little contact and the lack of ways to communicate, we can't get that. Mm-hmm. And even when we do get communication, the distractions that goes on within the walls, the communication, you just have to roll with it. and adapt, which is truly hard because, like I said, we can't ever get that mushy stuff, and we can't never really let our emotions out because of that lack of communication and the barriers. Yeah. So I'd have to say that's probably the hardest thing.
Yeah, I can relate to what you're saying for sure. I'd agree as well that physical is definitely not the most challenging, and I think most people would think it is, but the physical aspect is definitely not the most challenging. And it makes sense because that communication piece is just so important, and it's so important in every relationship, but especially these ones, I find it's just so much more critical for success. So sometimes, like you said, prison, jail can be really chaotic. They're always on their toes. I don't know if I find Nick's always on his toes. He's always ready for something. It's almost like they're prepared for the worst all the time, and they never know what's going to happen or if something's going to happen. So sometimes their moods are out of whack. They're struggling inside. They can't talk to you about what's going on because of the phones. Sometimes there's just huge barriers to that communication, and I find it difficult for myself included to be supportive of him when he's going through different things in there, especially when he can't communicate them. And I can tell when his feelings are changing or his moods are weird for whatever reason. Do you have that similarities? Do you find that happens in your relationship? And what do you do to kind of support him? What advice would you give to people?
Well, like I told you, my husband's been in over 20 years, and my husband is a very, very prideful person. He is very prideful, and he's not accustomed to having someone that can take his pride. I mean, he's told me different stories about people in his past where his pride pushed him away, carried him away, what have you. But so he's not used to having anybody that can take his pride. And I'm not going to say that sometimes it doesn't cut. His words can cut. Sometimes they cut deep. Things he might say hurt because of his pride. But I go back to that promise that I not only made to him, but first of all, I made it to God, and then to myself, a commitment to say, no matter what, I'm in this. Mm-hmm. So I listen to him. I let him vent. Once he calms down and not showing signs of his pride, is when I take the opportunity, if it presents, to talk to him about X, Y, or Z that he may have said. But if the opportunity doesn't present itself for me to talk to him, I'll have to have my own little crying session by myself to release my emotions. And then I remind myself that he was just mad or hurt or angry or had something going on or what have you. I mean, because they're in prison. Mm-hmm. They're incarcerated 24 hours a day. They don't have the luxury to go get in the car and drive down the road, or all they have is what they have in there. And they're very limited. And I remind myself he loves me, and that he wouldn't still be talking to me if he didn't love me and didn't want to be with me. So I know those words that hurt, that may cut, he doesn't mean them. Mm-hmm. And it's just his pride coming out. It's just him being defensive. I just take it with a grain of salt and, just go on, because I know he loves me and I know I love him.
I love, I'm sitting here listening to you, and one of the things that I love about building this community and talking to other women that are going through similar things is that the way you put it and the perspective that you have, and I reflect on my relationship as you're talking about yours, and I'm like, wow, it's almost like pick your battles. And I've never thought of it that way until this very moment when you're talking about it.
That's exactly what it is. You have to pick your battles.
Yeah.
After he has said something or done something, I have to ask myself, is it worth it for me to even try to talk about it? And 9 times out of 10, it's going to be no, because I ask myself when I'm talking, I'm saying, is it worth it? Is it going to change the way I feel about him? Is it going to change me saying? No, it's not. Mm-hmm. So just let it go.
Yeah, interesting. I love that perspective, because it's true. It's such a different type of relationship. Like you said, sometimes they just go through these crazy moods that they don't mean anything that they're saying, but it doesn't mean it doesn't hurt us, right? But yeah, choosing your battles definitely makes sense. How's your trust? I always want to ask this to every prison wife, because I think that that's a huge aspect of the relationship is trust. And I have a good friend that's going through some trust stuff with her man, and I'm curious about other people's relationships. And I love the fact that we're anonymous so that we can actually share the truth. How is your trust in your relationship? Is it something that you guys struggle with on both sides? Do you struggle trusting him? Does he struggle trusting you?
Well, just like you said, Jay, this is not a normal everyday relationship. It's not like one you can find out here. So even the trust you have to look at it differently. My husband says he fully trusts me, but let's be realistic. I know thoughts come into his mind at times. He may or may not say anything, but I can tell from ways he may act or things he may say because of past experiences. Even though he says he doesn't need reassurance, I reassure him anyway. Even though I know it's only words, but I know in time he'll see, because there's nothing or no one that will ever make me or offer me anything to make me leave him, to make me betray him in any kind of way, or to disrespect him. My heart belongs to him. As for my trust in him, I trust him fully.
Yeah.
Although I have to keep in mind where he is and the doubts I know he holds within, and just being real with myself and being realistic. A lot of times those incarcerated will do one thing or another. They do things I call nonsense things. And it's easy for us to say that they should not be doing, X, Y, or Z. But can we truly say that? We're not incarcerated. Can we truly say that? Unless we've been in there, we don't truly know.
Yeah, I agree.
So that's where we have to decide ourselves. We have to say, do we truly love them unconditionally, no matter what they do? We have to, as my husband says, we have to look for the worst but hope for the best. And, is it fair to us? No, it's not. It's not fair to us. But, and this is where I said I was going to get back to the true unconditional love. True unconditional love has no condition. But that's where I have to say, do you love that person unconditionally? And I love my husband unconditionally. So no matter what he does, like I said before, no matter what he doesn't do as far as giving the mushy, emotional stuff that us women like, okay, I love him. So no matter what, I'm here.
Unconditional is something that Nick and I talk about a lot. And I love that you're talking about it and bringing it up, because it is true. And as you learn more about the system and prison and what it's like, there's different perspectives on things that, like you said, we don't even quite understand, and we wouldn't understand because we've never been in prison. So things that they justify as correct might not be, or it wouldn't be out here, but it's a different world and a different system out there. So it's like learning about it and evaluating it to see if it's something that you either can or can't deal with, right?
The longer they're incarcerated, or the longer they have been incarcerated, the more likely they are to do what I call those nonsense things that they possibly wouldn't normally do if they were out here.
Yeah, exactly. And Nick always says, like, oh, you don't love me unconditionally. You don't love me unconditionally. And we laugh about it and joke, but he's like, I love you unconditionally and you don't love me. And I'm like, no, I do, but I am still learning the meaning of unconditionally at the same time. I feel like I'm very much still learning what unconditional means.
And I was like that too. We've had relationships in the past. We may have said we love somebody unconditionally, but did we? Because we would still be with them if we loved them unconditionally. So really and truly we didn't. We were learning what unconditional love. But a relationship, a marriage with a person incarcerated will teach you the true meaning of unconditional love. And it's only been with my husband that I have really learned the true meaning of unconditional love, because, as I said, his pride, and he has said and he has done some things that really tested it, and no fault of his own. I don't blame him, because he's incarcerated. He's been in over 20 years, and he's had people hurt him before. But I love him unconditionally. So no matter what he has said, no matter what he has done, I love him unconditionally, and I'm staying. I'm staying committed. I'm staying faithful. I'm doing exactly what I want to do. I want to love him and show him the true meaning of unconditional love.
I can't wait for him to hear this one day. So I think I know the answer to this one, but if you could go back and never meet him, would you?
Oh, no. I said before, our love story is beautiful to me.
Yeah.
And, the way I see it, God lets everything happen in his own time. And God meant for it to happen exactly the way it did. So therefore, it's a beautiful love story, and I'll cherish it till the day I die.
I love that. And I completely relate to that, because I too feel that this was God bringing me to him. And I feel like it's God's will for us to be connected. I joke a lot with him. He actually wrote me a song, and it starts with, like, if I could go back, because I always joke about it, but I would never now. I find like I've never experienced this type of love and this depth of love before, so there's no way I would go back. But it doesn't mean that there aren't unique challenges that we face in it. It's like, to get the good of this relationship, comes along with the bad, that you have to deal with. So how would you say you stay fulfilled in your relationship?
How I stay fulfilled. When a man is incarcerated, like I said, you don't get all those mushy things. You don't get those actions or words that us women like to hear. So you have to be patient. and you have to really pay attention to them. So when they do let out those actions that we see as mushy and, those words of emotion, you have to really pay attention, and you have to cherish those moments because they're going to be very far between. So that's the way I stay fulfilled. I pay attention. I can recite things he said, things he's done in the beginning, in the middle, whatever, because like I said, they're very few and far between, so you just have to hold on to them.
Yeah, institutions and prisons really have a way of hardening people that it makes it hard sometimes to dig through. And
especially when you've got a very prideful man on top of this, being incarcerated, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, you've got a double whammy.
Yes, I do. And maybe for a future show, I'll tell more about my husband. But I really got a triple whammy. But we're gonna leave the other one off.
Ooh, I look forward to that. Maybe in the next episode, if you reveal yourself ever, you can talk a little bit more about his case.
Exactly.
So I want to talk a little bit more about you and who you are as a person, because like I said at the beginning, I just think your dedication to him is so admiring. It's so beautiful. And I'm wondering, have you always been such a fighter? You are open and constantly working to help him, to get attention on his case, to try and get him out, to try different things. Have you always been that type of person in your life? Or is this something that he brought out in you?
I have been a blunt person, an outspoken person, but I've never been one to just reach out to the public to draw them to a certain topic or what have you. No. And I can't say he per se is the one that brought it out of me, but his case brought it out of me, because the unfair justice that has been done to him, is just like with so many others, that is what brought it out of me.
Yeah. It's funny how you say that, because I know someone else who said the exact same thing to me, that a case is what brought it out. The case came first, then the love, and that push to like publicly get out there and fight for their freedom. It's so, it's amazing. It's amazing to see what you've done. And I want you to share with the world, like share with this podcast, what have you done to advocate for him? Tell everybody, because I just think it's amazing, all the things that you've done. And I'd love for you to share some of the things that you've done to try and advocate for him.
Well, Jay, as you said, that the things I've done, but I don't see where I've done much. I honestly don't. I done a rally where nobody showed up but one person, and she was wonderful. But we done it at the exact courthouse where he was sentenced at. I went there. She and I handed out, and I started to just say, you know what, forget this, because nobody has showed up. It's not going to make a difference. But I decided, no, just because nobody showed up, I'm still going to do this. So that day I handed out 250 flyers with his story on it.
I love it.
And I put out signs with his pictures and talking about over sentencing, wrongful convictions, because through this I have learned so much about how many people are really over sentenced and how many people are wrongfully convicted. And it's so unjust and it's so unfair. And I'm just hoping after all these years that, okay, I'm going to let this out on this podcast. I have got my husband's case back into court, and I'm it's going back to court for a reduction of sentence, which everybody says is out of time, but for whatever reason, it has gotten back into court, and the laws, the way they're put in place, it is out of time, but I have the thing that I know a man that can do anything, and that's my God, and God is the reason I give him all the credit for it getting back into court, and I know, just like I said, he can do anything. He can make it where he walks out of that courtroom a free man. It's all in his will and all in his time. And as far as things I've done,
it's amazing.
You see it and I don't see it.
I think it's amazing. How many people, you literally did the whole motion. You wrote out the whole thing and it didn't get thrown out yet. Like this, no, it's amazing. How many people can say that?
And I'm not even stopping there, because we're talking about my husband's life.
Yeah.
We are talking about a man that has been incarcerated for over 20 years. So I'm not putting my full trust into this judge. I'm putting my full trust into God, and whatever God brings to my mind or leads me to do, I've already got something planned. We're coming up upon Christmas here, and on Christmas Day, I am actually going on the busiest day of the year. Actually Christmas Eve, and I'm going to the Walmart parking lot where he was sentenced, and I'm actually in the process right now of making flyers and I am going to have our family picture on the front of it, and it's going to say, make our Christmas wish come true, bring our family together, and it's going to have my husband's story on the back, and I am asking everybody in that town to fill that courtroom that day.
I love it. I love it so much. What made you think of that?
And then what made me think of that? Because I was looking into having a rally out the front of the courtroom, and then I was like, but they'll be outside. I need to have people inside there. I need to show my husband that he has support, and I need to bring it all in that courtroom. And it needs to be local people, because who puts these judges? We put them in there in our county, in our town. We put them in there.
Yeah.
So if I have all the locals from there inside that courtroom being on my husband's side, then what is that judge going to think?
Exactly.
He needs to release this man. He needs to help this man.
I really think that that's the way. I really truly believe that getting eyes on a case, because people don't realize the amount of over sentencing that is happening because they're not exposed to it. But when you tell people his story, or even when I talk about Nick's story, they're like, what? How did that happen? How is that seemingly justice? Like, what? It doesn't even make any sense. But when people don't know, they don't know what you don't know, right?
Exactly. And we never know what's going to help. And the way I've come to look at it is, if it comes to mind, do it. If it comes to your heart, do it. Because the only way you're going to know is if you try it.
Yeah.
Just like that day that I had that rally that nobody showed up, and I almost paid up and left. And then I said, no, I said, you know what? If I can reach one person out of these 250 flowers, then I have come across one person just to hear his side, just to see it. It only takes one person to make a difference.
Exactly. I love it. I love your perspective, and I love how you just don't give up. Because so many people would have given up if nobody showed up. And I remember that rally, seeing you talk about it, and I was so discouraged for you, but you were just so resilient about it. And I just love that positivity. Well, it's like that his positivity is rubbing off on you too.
It's even like with the motion. Whenever I was first trying to get it back into court, everybody was telling me it's out of time. It's out of time. It's never going to get back in there. And I'm not going to lie, there was a lot of people that started discouraging me, and I almost gave up because I was having to go back and forth to that courthouse once a week. And I did that for like 6 months, taking a 4-hour drive just to go stand in front of them, just to push. And a lot of people were discouraging me, and I was like, you know what? I'm not going to let them discourage me. I love this man, and because of our love, I'm not going to let them discourage me. Because of the way he's been done, I'm not going to let it discourage me. If it gets back into court, it gets back into court. If it don't, I'll find another way.
Yeah.
And it's just like I even said, I'm not putting my faith and trust in that judge. I've already got plan B in action. Starting with plan B, in case he does not reduce his sentence or let him out that day. I'm already working on the next step to get him out. I'm not going to stop until he walks out them gates. I am going to meet him at those gates.
I love it.
One day soon. I'm not going to stop.
I love it. I think it's just so powerful. That in itself is just so powerful. To know this is now your purpose, is getting him out, and you're going to do it.
When we say we love somebody unconditionally, it's all about how we show it. Like I said, do we say the nonsense things that they may or may not do? Do we say through it all? And I dig him with him, and I let that unconditional love that I have for him. You asked me earlier, like, what drives me, what pushes me, and that is what I let push me. So any kind of little thought that comes into my head that could help, that could possibly help at all, I let that unconditional love that I feel, I let it push me to do this.
I cannot wait to see what happens. I mean, I hope and pray that your journey ends sooner rather than later, this journey, and then you could start the next chapter of your lives. But I'm so fascinated and enthralled with your resilience and what you're going to do next. And I can't wait to watch it and witness it, because it's really something to see, and it just makes your love story that much more beautiful because you're going so far above and beyond. And I hope this interviewing you and learning about you and your relationship with him, I hope it encourages other women and men that have loved ones that are incarcerated to do more and fight for more for their men, because that's how we affect change. And I really feel that the universe helps those that help themselves. God helps those that help themselves. And you're literally just showing that with your attitude, positivity. You just know. It's not even like a question. It's, I'm going to do what's next. I'll keep doing it and I'll keep thinking of new things. I just love hearing about it and I can't wait to see what happens. So if there was one thing that you want the world to know about you guys, what would it be?
Unconditional love doesn't exist. You just have to have thick skin. You have to be real and honest with yourself, first and foremost. But unconditional love really does exist.
I think that's so true. You're right. And the last thing I want to ask you is, you've been through it. Like, you've had quite the journey with him, and it's had a lot of ups and downs for sure. And you've just been so dedicated, and your love story is so unique and has come together so nicely. What piece of advice would you give to someone who's starting to date someone who's incarcerated?
This life isn't for the weak. You may see yourself as a strong person, but this life will truly test your strength. The only way this life will or can be rewarding if it's a true unconditional love, because it is the most challenging one you can ever live. Again, they have to be true to themselves. If you can't handle being alone no matter the years, and if you think of the worst possible scenario that your partner could do that would crush your soul and you couldn't stay, you can't honestly say you would stay through it and that you could forgive and forget them. And they need to ask themselves, could you still love them without conditions, no matter what? And if you're being honest and real with yourself and you can't absolutely say with no doubt yes to that, then it's not for you. Don't start it. Don't start it at all if you can't, because they're being damaged enough by our judicial system without having someone come in their lives and making them believe they're going to be there through everything with them, only to have them walk away. Also, ask yourself, can you remain faithful no matter the time frame, no matter what they do? If you can't, leave them alone. Let them be. Don't hurt them.
I agree. I hear so many awful stories of women hurting men that are incarcerated, and it's devastating because of their circumstances already. They're already in vulnerable places, and they don't need women taking advantage of them in that way. And we hear so much about incarcerated men taking advantage of women out here, but we never really hear the other side.
Exactly. And they do, but just there is men on the inside, just being real about it, that use multiple women that, do this or do that. And not meaning they're a bad person. Look where they're at. They're behind walls with limited things to do.
Yeah.
Plus, most of these men have had women before in the past to say they was going to stay, and they didn't stay.
Exactly.
Regardless of whatever reason, like I said, true unconditional love. You have to really commit to that true unconditional love, to love that person no matter what they do, what they say, how they act. You have to really commit to that true unconditional love.
What a beautiful way to end this. Thank you so much for coming on. Is there anything that I've missed that you want to share before we go? Anything you want to communicate to the world? Now would be the time to share it.
The only thing that I would add to it is, you talk about how I do what I do. It's just loving somebody, and I truly love my husband. I have that true unconditional love for him, that no matter what comes, how many years it ends up being, even if it's the day we die, if we are still physically apart the day we die, I'm going to be right here still doing what I do for him and for the rest of those that have been over sentenced, and because it's not fair. And they can go back and look at all these cases that's been done all these years, that these men that have got unfair sentences, that have been wrongfully convicted, and they need to free these men, these women, because it's not fair. And just like with my husband, he missed out on so much of his life, just like Nick, whether it's out on getting married, having kids, raising a family, they don't get that stuff.
Exactly.
And I can understand if they are the actual ones that committed the crime missing out on things, because that is punishment. I'm not biased at all, but they don't deserve to have their whole lives taken away from them.
I agree. And your husband has the same felony murder situation as Nick, and it doesn't make sense, and it does need to change. And that's just one of the many, right? There's a lot of other cases that also need to change, and sentencing that needs to change. And I really feel that women are a key piece in this. I think that if we all got together, we can make a big impact on the justice system.
I totally agree. And just like, if any women want to reach out to me, which they'd have to go through you.
Yes.
Be in touch with them, but that's fine. They can do that.
Okay.
But they've got to come in with that unconditional love, because I'm not going to partner with anybody that is not going to let that unconditional love drive them. Like I said, no matter what, no matter when, no matter how, that we've got to push forward. We've got to do this, and we've got to show these men true unconditional love.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're wasting their time, you're wasting your time, you're wasting everybody's time.
Exactly. We only want the positive. So like you said, if anybody wants to get a hold of Vayda, you can go through me. You can contact me on TikTok, which is at More Than an Inmate's GF. You can contact me on Nicholas's Facebook page, which is More Than an Inmate. Or you can email me at Nicholas's email, morethaninmate@gmail.com. Any of those ways you can reach out to me, ask about Vayda. I will pass on your information to her. Like she said, she's open to working with people and getting together. The bigger networking opportunities that we have, the more likely we can get some exposure to these cases, and to her husband's case in particular, which is at a crucial point in his case where there could be, some advancements made. So if you do want to get involved, if you do want to help, now would be the time to contact me so I can get you in touch with Vayda. Well, Vayda, thank you so much again for coming on. I loved hearing about your story. I'm glad that I didn't know it before so that I could hear it firsthand here. And like I said, I just love watching you do what you do. I can't wait to see your holiday plans in action. See that online and see what happens with that. And I hope and pray that you get that courtroom filled in January.
Thank you, Jay.
So that's it. Thank you everyone for listening to this episode. And we will see you in 2 weeks. I think it's Boxing Day for episode number 4. Thank you. Bye.